All right, so we bring in Travis Eldridge to help us get a sense of this bracket and maybe tell you some things to look for this upcoming weekend. Hi, Travis.
What's going on, Tom? Good to be here.
Oh, thank you. Yes, it is good to have you. Let's start with the matchup to watch of the weekend. What do you like?
Big shocker here. I'm going with a matchup that is near and dear to my heart. We're going to go Syracuse and Georgetown, mainly because if Syracuse wins, I don't even know if most people will consider it an upset, though in terms of seeding, it would be, as Georgetown earned the 5 seed and they get a chance to be the quote-unquote home team here at a neutral site.
Yeah.
But this game just has everything that you feel like you want, and I feel like there are so many questions about it going in. What does Syracuse do at the faceoff X? Can Jacob Fopp have success? Was it just the ACC was that good and Syracuse struggled against the great teams? Or was Syracuse really not that good of a team? On the flip side, Georgetown, that Loyola game, was it just a flash in the pan, don't worry about it? Was Denver really that good? We have so many questions that I think will be answered by this game about both the ACC, about Syracuse and Georgetown, about the Big East. So that's why I'm so intrigued in this Saturday night matchup.
Yeah, I mean, Syracuse, it feels like we know they have the talent, and now they have what appears to be a group that's very closely knit together,
yes.
Brought together by some varying factors. But I think that makes that matchup interesting. And Georgetown has the ability to dominate, it feels like, defensively or offensively. If they can go off, if they can maybe make a run of their own. All right, so I am going to go with Duke and High Point is going to be my matchup to watch. And namely, you've got two guys that stick off the page for you, making their NCAA tournament debut, mind you. Michael Sowers for Duke, Asher Nolting for High Point. And I think the intrigue here, of course, High Point, year after year, they play that tough schedule in the early season. Sometimes it goes well for them, sometimes it doesn't. And now here for the second time in program history, they're actually in the NCAA tournament. And they did play better lacrosse at the end of the season, of course. They finally got over the hump of Richmond in that final after they had lost to Richmond 17-10 earlier in the year. So there was improvement there. There was some improvement as well as they went along. A close loss to UVA. They had a close loss to UNC. I don't think it's going to be 27-8 Duke this time around. And I'm looking forward to seeing Michael Sowers make his NCAA tournament debut, too, in that game.
Yeah, well-deserved opportunity for Michael Sowers to play.
Absolutely. All right, so in that same line of thinking now, let's go with the upset you're picking, Travis. Who you got?
I'm going to go with a team that I've probably seen more than any other this year, and that is Drexel out of the CAA. And I think this could make me feel really dumb after Notre Dame possibly could win the championship as the 6th seed. They are that good.
Yeah.
But this Drexel team is also very good. If you haven't watched the Dragons this year, they got pieces all over the place. First, scoring depth. They got about 5 or 6 guys that on any given day could go off for 5 or 6 points. I think that one is important against a very well-balanced and solid Notre Dame defense. They also have some guys, including that guy, number 47 in white, the freshman Luke Tomac, that can stretch the field a bit. Also important against a very sound defensive unit there for Notre Dame. On the other side, the big plus I think they have is they've got a defenseman in Sean Quinn, who's a veteran who's been there, done that, has matched up with Ryan Tierney now a couple of games and essentially almost taken him out of the game. I mean, you saw the ways Ryan Tierney had to score in that CAA championship game to get anything. Sean Quinn is a veteran guy who can be a shutdown dude. If he can just keep Pat Cavanaugh quiet, I think this could be a game because of all the other pieces that Drexel has. So if Quinn does his job, remember, he's got Tucker Durkin as defensive coordinator, a guy who's been asked to do that in a number of big spots. So I like Drexel sneaky. Even if they don't win, I think this is a game that not enough people are talking about. Keep an eye on the Dragons.
All right, we will for sure. I'll go to Denver Loyola for my upset. I've got the Greyhounds. There's a few different factors here in the terms that Loyola didn't play in their championship game because of a COVID positive and sort of the question surrounding that. I just really like their defense, and Denver has struggled with a good defensive team in Georgetown a couple of times this season. So I do like Loyola. I like Sam Schaefer, the 5th best goalie in the country, and how they responded in that Patriot League tournament, avenging losses to Army and Navy in that tournament as well to get to that championship. They're playing their best lacrosse at the right time. Lindley and Olmstead, guys that have been there and done that here in the playoffs in the past as well. So they have that experience, and I just think Loyola, despite the fact that T.D. Erlin quietly winning 69.7% of his faceoffs, which is lower than his career average, but still, they do have obviously one of the best, if not face-off duos in the country. I think that'll be interesting to see Bailey Savio and how he does against those two as well. But I am picking Loyola over Denver.
Interesting. I think that's a popular pick. I think Loyola plays similar ways that Denver has lost games this year.
Okay, well, I just wanted to think. I think there's more factors that make it a little bit out on a limb. Okay,
all
Travis? Right. So I'm going to start the next one now.
Okay,
Our breakout player of the tournament, and it picks up where you left off with Drexel. Reid Bowering, ladies and gentlemen. If you watch CA, if you watch Travis all year long and bring up Reid Bowering, it's not hard. He's a guy that jumps off the page at you, and there's a reason he's
especially the last couple of weeks
highly regarded in the NLL, in the draft, and
he's going to play defense indoors.
In that top pick, and he is that. You see the athlete in him. You see the guile and what he can do, not only on the offensive end, but on the defensive end as well. 21 goals, 3 assists, 22 ground balls, 5 caused turnovers. He is a guy that sticks off the page, and I can't wait to see what he does, no matter how long it is in the NCAA tournament. He's a guy you're going to want to see if you haven't yet.
Yeah, he's very entertaining. I'm going to stay with not an underdog pick, but maybe a smaller conference pick, Patriot League for my breakout players. And I got 2, mainly because they've got family members who are also playing in the tournament. We got Christian Mule, the brother of Cameron, who plays at Duke, scored a big overtime game winner earlier this year. And Cole Kirst, who gets to play against both of his brothers as Lehigh takes on Rutgers in the first round. Cole Kirst, both these guys, by the way, top 3 in the team in points. They don't get talked about a lot because everything is Michael Sisselberger when anybody brings up Lehigh. But both of these guys are really good. Cole Kirst, part of that now U21 U.S. men's national team squad. Been a veteran leader for that team that's full of a bunch of guys who are freshmen or sophomores now in college. And he was looked at as a veteran guy. Now he's doing it for this Lehigh team. He's solid, and Mule's good as well. So both these guys, if Lehigh makes a run, they beat Rutgers and they can make a run. These are guys that I think have to step up in turn, will be household names by the end of the tournament.
That should be a really fun matchup between Lehigh and Rutgers. I'm looking forward to seeing, Rutgers, of course, the Big Ten. We talked about it so much, just playing each other, getting outside that as a Big Ten team should be interesting for sure. After Rutgers is one of the hot picks to start the year, then barely sort of made the tournament at the end of the year. In terms of moving on, I guess is what we're doing. Your Tewaaraton player to watch, the one that maybe needs to make one final push, in your opinion, Travis.
I'm going with the obvious one, who may be a front runner in some people's minds right now on the men's side, and it's Jared Bernhardt, mainly because he hasn't played anybody but Big Ten competition. And we saw what the committee thought about Big Ten competition because Maryland is undefeated and they're the 3 seed in this tournament. So I think for some people, including some Tewaaraton voters, Jared Bernhardt has to do it in the tournament. Now, that's kind of gone without saying in terms of winning the Tewaaraton. You got to get it done in the tournament anyway. But maybe more than any other player, Bernhardt got to show up if he wants to hoist the trophy, just strictly because he's only played Big Ten competition. And we don't know. He could have had this incredible year that people have kind of written off because we don't know what to make of the Big Ten this season. Or it could be that he comes up against some different defenses and it's different. We will see. But I think he's the guy that, to me, I think will make a statement. I think this is his award to lose.
A 2-man race right now, in my opinion, between Jared and Chris Gray of North Carolina. Maybe whoever wins the championship will win the Tewaaraton. I'm going to the women's side of things because the women's Tewaaraton race is fascinating. It feels like Izzy Skane is the leader in the clubhouse right now. She leads the nation with 99 points. But then you've got Jamie Ortega and Katie Hogue for North Carolina.
Who do you pick?
I mean, who do you pick between the two? And North Carolina, the odds-on favorite to win it all. So if they're able to do that, and who knows with Northwestern, same sort of storyline we're doing with the Big Ten here, what she faces in this tournament. If Ortega and Hogue emerge, how do you choose? So that is a Tewaaraton to watch. And another person, Charlotte North, is someone that's stolen the headlines in that race as well. I really like this race this year. It's really fun and interesting.
Yeah, because it feels like UNC is probably going to win the title. But who do you pick out of those two? And then do you maybe give it to somebody else who's just been a standout individual as opposed to being on this incredible collection of talent?
All right, one more question here. It's on the women's side. Who is the biggest threat to the North Carolina women?
There's only one answer to this, and it's Northwestern, and it's in the championship. Because North Carolina has proven it time and time and time again this year. They've beaten everybody else that is a contender. They've beaten BC. They've beaten Syracuse twice. They've just taken care of business. Northwestern is the team with all the different pieces they have, and Izzy Skane being great. When you look at this field, it's like, I don't know if I'd pick anybody against them, but maybe if there's a chance, maybe it's Northwestern. They have gotten a couple of number one votes at times this year in the media poll, so I'm going to go Wildcats if there's anybody.
That's where I went first. And then I looked a little closer at the bracket, Travis. And I've called, of course, the CAA women's games all year long. I'm going JMU or Drexel, because JMU, a team that had not that far removed from winning a championship. They're a team that's played North Carolina a couple times. A team that has a hot goalie in Molly Dougherty, the hottest goalie in the nation. You're going to hear from her later on in the show. It just feels like JMU is the team that's been there and done that and has the ability now with some of the things they tweaked in the middle of the season to do that. And Drexel has an offense that at times can run with this North Carolina offense. Drexel likes to get up and down. They've got sources of scoring in a myriad of fashions, and they've got the CAA goalie of the year in Zoe Bennett. Those are two teams in that bracket that I think could pose a threat to North Carolina.
A threat? How big of a threat?
A big enough threat.
I don't know.
Make them a little bit nervous.
Nobody's beating UNC.
They are the favorite for a reason, and we'll have Tracy Wiener on a little bit later to talk about just that.